Alright, we are back looking at yet another Chamberlain screwdriver opener. This one, as you guys know, the Chamberlain screwdrives on their own are pretty rare, but this one in particular is very rare because this one actually says power drive on the case. That is not something you hardly ever see. Most of these just said, they would have just said Chamberlain with gold lettering on it, but this one actually says power drive, which is pretty rare, so that's cool. And I now actually have 3 different Chamberlain screwdrives and 3 different Craftsman screwdrives, and still no LiftMaster screwdrives, but I'd rather have the Chamberlain and Craftsman versions because those are more rare. But yeah, so definitely a very cool machine, pretty rare, as I just said. So this one, let's see, where do I want to start with this one? Turn that light back on first of all. So this one is actually a very early one. It was made, read that, November of 2000. Now, in 2000, they actually would have used, I have the previous version of this opener, is that one right there. That's my, I think that's a 4620. I can't read that from here. 4620. And in 2000, they still would have been using the squared off cases for the chain and belt drives. And 2001 is when they switched to this style with the rounded off light covers. But apparently the design on the screw drive changed before the chain and belt drives did. So this one also, of course, being an older one, does have the older terminals, which 3 of the tabs are broken off, but you can just shove the wires down in where the tabs would go and it actually still will light up and work. Also, this back panel is broken. This little hook thing here is broken off, and this one here is about to break off, so I've just kind of got it held up with duct tape for now, and it'll work alright for the time being. But I do need to replace that at some point. This light cover is also not the original light cover. This light cover came off of the this Craftsman screwdriver here. This one is a model PD460-2K. The 2K means it would have come with 2 remotes and a keypad. I have the original wall control right here, and is the 78 equivalent. This is the original keypad, the 940CB. And then it would have come with 2 of these 953 CB remotes, and it was late 1999 that they switched to this style of remote. This is actually the oldest remote of this style that I have, but this is the remote that it would have come with. So yeah, and I will run this for you in a sec, but before we do, I will show you another thing. Is I also brought the rail from this home, but it is not the complete rail. I actually managed to shorten this rail. So, sorry, I got a bunch of stuff on my way over here. Maybe move some of it. I have a 7-foot belt that I did not know I had. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, shortened this rail. So basically, I can find the connection in here, right there. It's just roll pins that you have to pound out to separate the screw sections. But what you will have to do is, I'm using the end rail section, the header rail section, but I'm using the middle screw section. And that's because if you try to use the end screw section for the header end, the threads on the screw don't line up the same way. So the trolley will get stuck when it tries to go past that point. So you will have to take the screw out of the middle and put it in the end, and then you will actually have to cut the screw itself because it will be too long. But it can be done. You can shorten these rails. So now I can show all of my old style screwdrives on this door. So if you guys want to see any of those, let me know and I'll add it to the list. One more thing before we run this is I do have the original coupler, and I'm kind of noticing that the older couplers actually seem to be made out of a different material than the new ones do. Let's see. And the same thing for that one up there is made out of the same type of material. But this is a newer one. I don't know which one this is from. But you can kind of tell the texture on them is a little bit different. The one on the left is the newer one. The other thing I'm noticing is you can like kind of squeeze the older one. It's not that flexible. The newer ones are a little bit more flexible. So I don't know why they changed the material, but they did. I've got plenty of those couplers now. Anyway, now we'll run this thing. And this thing is a very quiet opener. So here we go. Super quiet. This thing is definitely quieter than that thing is. We'll run this down. Yeah, so very nice opener. We'll run it one more time here. Let's do this keypad, assuming it wants to work, because to push kind of hard on these buttons. There it goes. It is very quiet. All the screw drives had MVIS. So, alright, we'll run this down with the remote, and that'll be it. So there you go. That is a Chamberlain power drive. That's a screw drive. And I actually, by the way, I have all three generations of the Chamberlain screw drive. I have the older one with the plastic cover. I have the one that's the tiny motor head with the old style rail. And then back here, that one right there is the 3240 equivalent that takes the new style rail. So all three generations of the Chamberlain screw drive, pretty cool. But that's it. Thanks for watching. See you guys later.